In this video, we will review some tips for a successful data migration onto the Salesforce platform. First, let's touch on the difference between data migration and data integration. Data integration connects two separate data repositories or systems. Data is merged into one system by sending data back and forth between the two systems in an ongoing fashion. Data migration is moving a set of data from one system to another and usually completed manually. This data is point-in-time static data. Here's an example in relation to a higher education Salesforce implementation. A data integration would be set up between the student information system and Salesforce for ongoing data transfer and connectivity. Prior to going live with the new Salesforce implementation and integration with the SIS, a one-time large data migration would occur to move data from the SIS into Salesforce. Now for some tips when embarking on this data migration. Data migration can be broken down into two main components: data migration organization and strategy planning, and data migration technical requirements. The first step is to always organize and have a strategy for when preparing for a large data migration. Define what data points need to be migrated and create a master list for the migration. These could be data tables from the SIS, another database, or even spreadsheets that end users are managing. Organize your master migration list by the order data needs to be loaded in accordance with the data model and dependencies. For example, you need to load contacts before you can load applications related to those contacts. Because applications are a child record to the contact, you will need to load the parent record, in this case the contacts, before you can load the applications. Salesforce provides some documentation to help you organize your data migration strategy for both standard Salesforce objects and education data architecture, or EDA objects. As you are preparing for migration, be sure to note Salesforce required fields for the objects you will be touching, even though the information may not exist in your data sets. If the data is not included in your data sets, work to define internally or with your client what the default values should be. Examples include opportunity name and close date are required when loading opportunities. Preferred email and preferred phone are required when loading contacts in the EDA model. Department, which is a lookup relationship to account, is required when loading courses in the EDA model. In addition, review all validation rules set up in Salesforce and decide if they need to be disabled in order to load your dataset, or if you will need to define logic or default values to ensure errors do not come up upon import. The second step is to define key technical requirements for your data migration. In addition to mapping out a high-level load order, you always want to define field-to-field mappings for the data. Include in this mapping any transformations that need to occur between the legacy system and Salesforce. This could be something as simple as storing a contact's gender in Salesforce. The legacy system may store gender as a code value of M or F, while Salesforce accepts the full words of male and female. Data extracted from the legacy system would need to be transformed to match the available Salesforce values. For objects where record types are defined, define which Salesforce record type should be assigned to the dataset. Review automation you have set up in Salesforce, workflow rules, process builders, flows, and Apex to determine which automations can be turned off while you are migrating data. Disable as many automations as possible to increase the speed records can be migrated and processed by the system. Any automations left active run as you migrate data. This can be a big hit to migration speed and performance. Include an external ID field in Salesforce and in the migration files for a unique ID or number for the record. This helps backtrack where the information originated from in the legacy system. This data point can be leveraged if you need to update the records later. It will also be leveraged when you need to relate a child object to a parent object by using an ID from the legacy system. Turn off email deliverability. This is especially important when migrating any data that's related to a contact to ensure no emails are accidentally triggered to send. If you are importing into the lead object and your organization is using lead assignment rules, be sure to update your data loader settings to include the ID for the lead assignment rules so leads are assigned appropriately upon import. Disable duplicate rules and matching rules while you are migrating large sets of historical data. This will prevent errors on import when a potential duplicate is detected. While there are many considerations and preparation activities that must occur for a data migration, these are a few tips to help you migrate your data onto the Salesforce platform successfully. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. To never miss new content, hit the subscribe button below.